Oh, where do I even begin with this one? Imagine yourself in my shoes, a 24-year-old woman who thought she had it all. Love, stability, and the kind of future that romance novels are made of. I met my husband back in high school when we were just a couple of wide-eyed teenagers, clueless about the world, but sure of one thing. We were meant to be together. We started dating when we were just 16, navigating the awkwardness of adolescence with each other's hand firmly in our grasp. Life moved quickly from there. After high school, we took that big leap together, moving in, starting university, adopting a sweet little cat who we joked was our first child. We grew up together, each milestone a testament to our commitment. By the time August of 2021 rolled around, he was down on one knee, a sparkling ring in hand, and I was saying yes, with tears in my eyes. It was as if all those years of shared experiences, late-night conversations, and silly arguments had culminated in this perfect moment. 2 years later, in August 2023, we tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by our loved ones. Life couldn't have been more perfect. After the wedding, we were financially stable enough to make our next big dream come true. We bought our own condo in the spring of 2024. It felt like everything we'd worked so hard for was finally paying off. We were building a life together, one that was secure and filled with love. Or so I thought. July 2024 was when my perfect world started to crack, and those cracks quickly turned into gaping chasms that swallowed everything I believed in. It was an ordinary day when I decided to check the footage from our at-home security cameras. Just a routine check, nothing out of the ordinary. But what I saw sent my heart plummeting into my stomach. There on the screen was my husband. But he wasn't alone. He was tangled up in the sheets with someone who wasn't me. My pulse quickened, my breath caught in my throat, and as the realization washed over me, I felt the kind of gut-wrenching pain that only betrayal can bring. The woman on the screen? She wasn't just some stranger. Nope, she was my close friend, someone I trusted implicitly for years. I could barely believe what I was seeing. How could this be happening in my own home, on my own bed? I felt like I was in a nightmare, but no matter how many times I blinked or pinched myself, I couldn't wake up from this horror. With trembling hands, I confronted both of them. My first call was to her, my so-called friend. I needed to hear it from her, to give her a chance to explain the inexplicable. But she denied everything. Her voice was calm, almost too calm, as she flat out rejected my accusations. I was shaking with rage, my heart pounding so loudly in my ears that I could barely hear her feigned innocence. I hung up on her mid-sentence, unable to bear another second of her lies. Then, with a heart full of dread, I dialed my husband's number. I couldn't even recognize my own voice as I demanded the truth from him. And that's when the dam broke. He confessed he had been cheating on me not just recently, but since July of 2023. That's right, just 1 month before our wedding, when we were supposed to be celebrating the happiest time of our lives. He was betraying me in the worst way possible. But it didn't stop there. He admitted to more, so much more. They hadn't just hooked up once or twice. This had been a regular thing. They'd been sleeping together behind my back, exchanging nudes and sexting. And the worst part, some of these tries happened when I was right in the house. I couldn't even breathe as he told me that the footage I seen was from the day before while I was blissfully unaware in the shower. The audacity, the sheer cruelty of it all made my blood boil. He was crying by this point, choking on his words as he begged me to forgive him. He said he loved me, that he found me more attractive than her, and that he wanted to stay with me. But what kind of fool did he take me for? The man I thought I knew was gone, replaced by this stranger who had been lying to my face for years. I spent the next week in a fog of despair and disbelief, but just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, another bomb dropped. I discovered that he had been lying yet again. The affair hadn't started in July 2023. It had been going on since June 2021. Yes, you heard that right. 2 months before he proposed to me, he was already cheating on me. For over 3 years, he had been living a double life, smiling at me with love in his eyes while he was sneaking around with her. But it gets even worse. It turns out my husband had also been paying for sex workers and watching online adult movies behind my back. And as if that wasn't enough, I found out he'd been whispering sweet nothings to my friend, telling her he loved her, not because he actually did, but because he wanted to manipulate her into sleeping with him more. It was all so calculated, so heartless. And then there was the icing on this poisonous cake. I learned that my friend, the one I trusted and confided in for years, had been talking behind my back the entire time. For 3 years, she'd been saying that my husband deserved better than me, that I wasn't good enough for him. The betrayal cut so deep. I felt like I was bleeding out from wounds I couldn't see. Looking back, people might ask, weren't there signs? Honestly, not really. He was so good at covering his tracks, so skilled at manipulating me. I've always been a bit of a jealous type, but I never had any reason to suspect him. Sure, I'd get a little anxious when they hung out together, but he always reassured me, saying they were just friends and that they sat a meter apart. I didn't mind him hanging out with her alone. They'd go rock climbing, send me pictures, and I trusted him. I'm bisexual, and I have friends of all genders, so I didn't want to be the kind of person who restricted who he could hang out with. But now, looking back, I see that there were red flags. Like in July 2023, just a month before our wedding, I found a suspicious Snapchat account linked to his phone. When I confronted him about it, he gaslighted me, claiming he had no idea how his number got there and even sent me articles about phone numbers being stolen. He accused me of trying to start fights because I have ADHD, and, according to him, I must love drama. That was the biggest red flag, and I wish I had pushed harder, but I trusted him. I believed him when he said he had no idea what I was talking about. He always acted so in love with me, so devoted, that I couldn't imagine him doing anything wrong. Now I know better. And that's the kicker. There were no obvious signs. Every time she came over, I invited her. Why would I be suspicious when I was the one who planned it? They didn't act flirty, they didn't sit close together, and he would even complain about her with me. We'd often talk about her messy life situation and how she never followed through with our advice. So why would I ever think something was going on? I trusted them both so much, and now I'm paying the price. I know they both struggle with mental health issues, and I've always tried to be supportive. I wasn't perfect, but I did everything I could to be there for them. Driving them places, paying for their meals, offering kind words, helping them book appointments, cleaning their spaces when they were too overwhelmed. I did everything I could to show kindness and support. And this is how they repay me? By stabbing me in the back? I'm left here shattered, trying to pick up the pieces of a life I thought was perfect. How could they do this to me? How could I have been so blind? This man got a rude awakening when he found his wife in bed with his brother. You won't believe the crazy details. Check out this video to find out.